I wanted to take a minute today at the beginning of the podcast and say thank you to our sponsor, Huber Engineered Woods. Huber has actually been a sponsor of the podcast since 2020 when we decided to start this little endeavor. Without our sponsors, this content is probably not something that happens. But I think the best part about having Huber as a partner on this is it's an incredibly authentic alignment. Peter, Steve, and I all use Huber Woods. I've been using Advantech Subfloor for coming on probably 21 years now. I've been using Zip System and Zip System with the insulation on the back, the Zip R, since 2013. It's a system that I believe in. That systems approach where things play well together. They have design parameters that allow you to use their system for what you're working on. It works. Their tech support's there. Their knowledge is there. I've never had an issue with their product, and it's a great thing that they've decided to sponsor the podcast. So thank you, Huber Engineered Woods.
Pete Yost here for the Unbuild It podcast. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our sponsor, Benjamin Opdyke. Been working with Benjamin Opdyke for a really long time. They started in 1868 making roof and wall solutions. I haven't known them for that long, but they make a great series of systems. And that's the operative term here. They don't just make building products for the exterior enclosure, they make systems of projects. I'm talking about high performance house wrap, drainable house wrap, rain screen systems. I love the fact that they make a increased ultraviolet exposure system for open joint claddings. They've just been at this a really long time. They have a really good technical team that backs up their products. And I always like building products that create systems, not individual products. The other thing is you go to their website, you got to go to their history or about them, because they've got this great Monty Python bringing to life Benjamin Opdyke back in the mid 1800s. So they have a sense of humor as well as they make great building products. So we're really happy to have them as a sponsor. They make a great system of house wraps and roof underlayments. And they also do rain screen systems that have a lot of compression resistance. So you maintain that space between the cladding and the rest of the wall. So great to have Benjamin Opdyke on board. You can visit them at www.benjaminobdyke.com. And now, on to the podcast.
Hey, Unbuild It podcast. Steve Basic here. Yeah, we got a treat today because we got rid of the Yosty. Yeah, Peter Yost. We dumped him in favor of just a spectacular addition here. So I got Jake Bruton and Mr. Tim Hill. Tim Hill is one of the partners at Risinger Build, a builder extraordinaire. And today's topic, tips for young builders. Yeah, I would say tips for old builders too, because I know some old builders that could probably use a change, but we'll keep it tips for young builders at the moment. But anyways, welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Steve.
So, all right.
Thanks for joining us today, Tim. I think it was a good idea for us to grab Tim.
For this. Yeah. Yeah. So do we make Tim open up the topic and say, okay, Tim, give us your number one tip. If you were talking to Tim at age 20, what would you tell him?
Save your money.
Save your money.
Be ready for a downturn. How many downturns have you been through, Tim?
Four. I think, that's for a young builder who hasn't experienced a downturn, because we really haven't had one, significant one in a while, that if you look at a graph of economic times over the last, say, 50, 75 years, the downturns are relatively short periods of time, 2-3 years, right? Some shorter, some a little longer. And what it takes to become a lifelong home builder remodeler is the ability to weather those storms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, be thoughtful, smart about your decisions, be somewhat risk averse, and accumulate enough working capital to survive a downturn. Yeah, that's number one.
Do you have a rule of thumb for how much working capital to keep around percentage-wise?
That's a great question. Let's assume for a second if your annual gross revenue, annual gross sales were, let's say, $5 million, I would certainly try to accumulate 10% of that over time. And more is better. Certainly $1 million would be better. That takes a long time for a young builder to accumulate that kind of capital. But
the business's capital. That's not your capital.
That's right.
That's one of the biggest things that you need to remember.
That's a great second piece of advice for young builders is assume that your company is an independent entity and not your wallet. Yeah. Because too many builders treat their business as if it's their own personal wallet to spend as they need to. And it's not. It's a separate business that supports you, your family, your employees, and just treat it as such.
You know, I think back, I had a really good friend that I literally grew up with that was a builder. And you want to talk about like the worst financial practices. This guy would get a deposit on a project for, say, $50,000, and he'd go out and buy 3 brand new snowmobiles.
Oh.
Right? Like it wouldn't even go towards a project. He would just consider, okay, I put it in my bank account. I got $50K now.
Yeah.
Let me go spend it. And then at the end of the project, yeah, you guessed it. He's like looking for the next project to get the deposit to pay for the remainder of the first project.
Right. You know, we can get in the weeds really quickly here and how to manage finances. But effectively treat each job as its own separate account. Each project you don't have to open a separate bank account for each project, but you have to keep an accounting of each project. And that balance in that account or sub-account should always be positive enough to pay for the bills on that job for the next 30 days. And when you get to the point where that begins to dwindle, draw more money from the client to make sure you've got enough to last another 30 days. And accumulate your profit along the way. Set aside, a good chunk of that profit toward working capital, and use the rest to pay your payroll and yourself.
I think along with that set of tips, like the biggest asset for my business was learning how to talk about finances with clients. Being comfortable talking about money with clients, both from this is what it's going to cost, to this is how you're going to pay me, to this is what the problem is, to every aspect of the financial part of it. I never had a problem explaining this is how we're going to build your house. When I first started out, had a real hard time, holding my hat in my hands going, it's going to cost $500,000 to do this. I felt like a butthead telling people that for some reason, like it was my fault that things were going to cost money. It took me a really long time to get past that and to understand I just need to tell people how it is and handle it like a business transaction, because it is, and quit making it some sort of emotional thing where it's like, I feel bad that they're going to spend money. They're asking to spend the money.
No question. And most successful builders have found that the best way to gain the confidence and trust from a client is to explain to them how your business model works so that they see how you make money and they see that you're not making half of what they're paying you. I mean, obviously, it's another topic in another day that we could talk about what builders make, but we all know it's fairly meager relative to the volume of dollars we put through our companies. At the end of the day, we may be good to make 5-6%.
Yeah. If we were waiting tables, it would be a piss poor tip.
Yeah.
Right.
But some of those clients are lawyers who have no problem charging what they charge to make the money, but yet they question. But getting back to your comment, Jake, I've sat in on tons of meetings with builders to reveal the initial budget or whatever. And the one thing that I would say out of there is that, clients are like sharks. They can smell the blood. Like if you're afraid, they go right after you. Well, can we add this to this? And it's like you're already in fear of the number that you're giving them. And they add to that fear because they think it's going to be favorable to their conditions. And the successful builders are the ones that just kind of slide the paper across and say, I know you were expecting 800,000. We're at 925, but let me explain why we're there.
Right.
And then they go through the numbers, and lo and behold, most of the time the client says, okay, I understand that, but I still want to do this. So would that be at like 950? And then we end up spending even more money.
Right.
But knowledge and the anti-fear aspect of sitting there and saying, I'm a businessman just like you. You want something, you want to pay for it. I need to build you something. I need to make money for it.
Right. And be in command of the numbers. You need to present it as this. These are the factual numbers based on discussions with these people, based on estimates and takeoffs on these documents, so that they understand that the numbers you're putting in front of them don't have a lot of fluff. It's not this magical formula for charging them an exorbitant amount of money. They need to see that it's a tight budget and reflects real work, real documents.
You know, one of the failures I've seen some builders do too. One of them actually is a really good friend, and I kind of scolded him when we walked out of one of our first meetings together because he gave the price to the homeowner. The homeowner kind of hemmed and hawed at it, and he said, "Well, let me see what I can do. You know, I'll go sharpen my pencil." And we walked out, and I was like, you know, that was probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And he's like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I'm just trying to help them out." I said, "You gave them a price, and then you're basically telling them, I'm lying to you. I can probably do it for less."
Yeah.
Like the price is the price. Give them the price and stand there. If you want to change something, you either need to get more money or change the scope.
Well,
that's the only way that number moves.
And as a young builder, I used to come to that initial meeting having already went through the budget and tried to be like, okay, well, they can't afford that. I need to see where I can trim. And then you have that meeting and then they want you to trim more. And you've already taken everything that you possibly could take out.
Yes.
Of it. You've already trimmed every bit of fat that there was on it. You've already given everything you possibly could. And then they want more. And then you've already hosed yourself for anything that could have possibly been to begin with. All wiggle room is gone at that point.
What they really appreciate are value engineering exercises. And that throws it back on them to say, here's a way to value engineer your budget by you understanding the cost relative to the value of these different components and different aspects. And if there's something that's similar to what you think you want that is half the price, would you be interested in pursuing that? That doesn't say anything about what you're charging them for your profit, your fee, your management. It just says that the features and finishes that are in their house could be value engineered if they want to do that.
Because that's you recognizing that you're not the bad guy, that they're spending money. And that so many times they're like, well, this is too expensive because of you. When you're not the reason that it's too expensive. The design and the choices are too expensive.
That's right.
And you're going to build whatever they want.
Yeah.
Right. As long as they're willing to pay for it. But yes, I love to have the builders early on for that because, you know, every homeowner, we want a fireplace. Okay. Is it just an insert? No, we want a real wood burner. Stone goes up through the roof. It's like, you understand that that's somewhere between probably $60,000 and $100,000, depending on stone, the quality of the mason, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're like, oh, they're really that much. But having a builder at the meeting also and being involved in that first meeting is, you know, yeah, he's right. That's probably somewhere 80,000 plus or minus. And to your comment, Tim, now the homeowner can sit there and say, do I really want that fireplace?
Yeah.
Or was it just something that I thought would be cool in the family room? Because some of them do think like that.
That's right.
I have my computer in front of me. I opened it up when you were saying being in command of the numbers. Our bid document has 380 line items. Like that's where it starts.
Right.
And almost every time we bid one of these, we end up going, shoot, we don't have that in there. Like, how come we have not put that in there before? Like there was a fill item on this that we just did a house. And I was like, how come we've been able to give this to people and never noticed that we didn't have that one thing in there? If you have 380 line items, there is no chance that the client's going to look at this and go, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not paying attention. Yeah. Like at least at this point, I can go, this is how we got there.
Right. I think building the house graphically in front of them helps them see and quantify all the different things that go into it. Because if you just give them a piece of paper with some scope explanation and a number at the bottom, to them, there's a lot of fluff in that number because they just don't graphically see how you ever get there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have builder friends that will email the proposal, which I think is a dumb idea because I have other builders that like the ones that I really highly respect. that would say something like, yeah, I would never email it. I'll set up a meeting and I'm going to deliver the proposal personally because I want to go through the numbers and I want to make sure they understand.
Right.
So I think there's a value in that too, in the fact that you just didn't email them and they read a number and now they're angry.
Right.
And you have to overcome that.
Right. That's right.
I also think all of this conversation around numbers is where customer service starts as well. Like we have a in-house conversation at Arrow Building where like we're building houses, but we're a customer service based industry. Like we're here to make sure that they get what they want. If we give them numbers that are incorrect at the beginning of the project, there's no chance that we deliver a good customer service experience throughout the project. Because if I tell you it's $100 and you get exactly what you asked for, but it costs $200, you're going to be pissed. If I tell you it's going to be $200 and it costs a little less than $200 and you get exactly what you wanted, you're going to be happy. So it's in our best interest to give you accurate numbers from the beginning that are realistic so that you're not mad at us. And I always tell, like, I actually say to clients, like, part of our business model is to not piss you off.
Yeah.
And it gets a giggle most of the time. And I'm like, but that's a way of saying, like, we want you to be happy, because a happy client will tell a couple people, a pissy client will tell a bunch of people. We don't do any like paid marketing. We need you to tell people nice
Bad
things.
news travels exponentially faster than good news.
And the first way we screw up the whole project is by getting you to sign a contract with incorrect numbers.
You know, it's hard for young builders because when they're interviewing with clients or going through the quote unquote bidding process, which I would try to avoid if I were a young builder, they don't have the reputation to present to the client and say, this is the strength that I bring to the table. I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. They don't have that. So they feel compelled to compete on price.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're constantly wishfully thinking that this thing would cost less than it does so that they can present something to the client that's attractive compared to the people that they're the other builders they're
I did that for a long time.
with. That's right. And so you just have this subconscious or sense of trying to get the numbers lower than they actually should be. Don't do that. Again, like you said, Jake, realistic numbers, look back on the experience that you have based on the last 2, 3, 4, 10 jobs that you've done. Realize I thought it was going to be this. It ended up being 20% more than that. So why would it be not 20% more this time than I'm thinking it should be? And that's very subjective. It's hard to figure all that out early as a young builder, but just understand that go with your gut. Don't go with the pressure, or don't yield to the pressure to make it lower than it should be.
But, you know, the young builder, and I think as a young architect, I was in the same boat. It's that chicken and the egg, right? You need good projects to get good projects, but you don't have any good projects yet. So you have to fight to try and get a good project to get at the next level in that game. Yeah. And, you know, for me as a young architect, I would always say, okay, I don't pay for ads or marketing or something. If I took a little hit on this project, and I'm not saying it's the best business practice, but that allows me to do a really good job on this project. And then the thing I have to do now is use that project to propel me into the next level and get in there. But from a builder's standpoint, or my tip for a builder would be, like, if you're charging full price, do your best job, because if you're charging full price, then the homeowner is going to be using good materials and, you know, probably a good design, and you're going to end up with a good project. And then you're going to have something that you can now compete with other people. If you're always going and sharpening your pencil and shaving numbers off of this, then you're not using good quality materials, probably, because you're sacrificing that. And then you end up with a project that really isn't a marketing tool for you now.
That's right. And that's another piece of great advice is don't take projects just because you feel like you have to.
Right.
If they're not something you can hang your hat on and be proud of, don't pursue them. Yeah. Because they're just going to be a waste of your time, and they're not going to be profitable enough to be worthwhile.
And everybody thinks you need to do, like, you know, as an architect, for example, like I need to do this $10 million house. I actually have no interest in doing a $20 million house. I would rather work for the client that wants to build the $2 million house and do a really nice job, be happy, be a modest size, and then, market it with good building science and integrate it with good design. So as a builder, like I wouldn't poo-poo like doing that kitchen job. Whatever job you get, do it the best you can.
Exactly.
Because you need to turn that into a marketing. And I know, you guys are probably not as far along as other people in social media, but social media is a great tool for a young builder, especially if you're doing a really good job. And don't get caught up in documenting the final picture. There's millions of pictures. Go on Pinterest. We can find pictures of great cabinetry everywhere. But what I think homeowners, potential clients would want to see is, what is your process? Hey, look at today, we're here. Or look at the end of the day, fan across the job site. We leave our job sites nice and clean. We treat our clients with respect. Give the clients the food that they want to eat. Right? Give them that video showing your process that they're saying, that guy, he only lives down the street. He seems like a nice guy. Look at the job site's all clean. I don't have to worry about Johnny and Sally stepping on a nail at the end of the day because there's boards everywhere. The yard is cleaned up or whatever the case is. But there's tools to market yourself and put yourself in great light.
Yeah. Our good friend, Matt, is a master and always has been since I've known him. 20 years, I guess now, in recognizing that every day there's something interesting going on the project. Yeah. And we get so caught up in the day-to-day deployment and procuring and pushing the progress, the schedule, the budget, that we don't stop and look at the individual parts and pieces that are going together and the great craftsmen that are doing the work. And try to document that in a way that's interesting to your clients, your fellow builders, your tradespeople. I mean, you guys do that more than I do. I'm not that good at it, but Matt is a master that just the microscopic pieces, components of every job are interesting. And if you point out how they go together and their function in the project and how they're going to make the project or the home perform better for the client, they're really interested in that stuff. And they see your enthusiasm in it. And it speaks to how they may want to tap into that enthusiasm to get a better product out of you.
And Matt does. He has a really great ability to tell a story.
Right.
Like he can find anything. The interesting thing in my conversations with Matt, it's kind of the flip side of what I just talked about. We've both been to a number of projects where you see the flashy pictures on the internet and it's like, oh, I'm in Colorado or I'm here. Let me go check in with this guy. I'm going to go walk a couple of his projects, maybe shoot some video or something. Then you walk his projects and you go, oh my God, these are awful. Like the pictures from 30 feet away are really good. But look at this window, like the miter is opening up. What a poor installation on the window. It must be racked or so, whatever the case is. But you look at it and you realize this really isn't a really good builder. And I think as a young builder, I would say, go out and visit other projects. Call an older builder in your town and say, hey, do you mind if I just come and walk around with you for an hour and look at your projects? And I think this was an eye opener for Jake. When you go and you see other people, you realize you're probably just as good as they are. And you realize that where you had them on the pedestal, that pedestal really doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right. We're all working hard. We all have the same problems. We all have the same client relationships that we have to fight through. But you also learn that, I always thought, well, that person's got it really figured out. And then I talked to another builder and I'm like, oh, I hate working with that architect. Oh my God, it's a mess. And I'm like, I thought they had their stuff. Oh, they don't have anything figured out. And I was like, there you go. And it's like, when you come to understand and get out of your bubble, I think you understand the world a little better and your position in it.
Yeah. One of the beauty of doing these podcasts and the videos that you guys do is for other young builders to recognize that we're all just struggling day to day to do the best we can and follow the pursuit of this oddball business that we're in. It's not, what you would think of as, at least when I graduated from college, there was absolutely no call for a home builder as a profession. It just wasn't. It was something that people just fell into. Mm-hmm. They worked with their hands. They were framers.
I moved to Arizona and I couldn't get a job, but I took a job as a framer and now I'm a builder.
Yeah, I remodeled a kitchen and then I did a whole house and now I build new homes. And so it just kind of evolved. Nowadays there are professions, but the point being that we're all just along that path trying to figure out how the best way to build high quality homes and make satisfied clients. And it's a struggle. It's day to day. Even for people like me that have been doing it over 40 years, it's a struggle every day. And we all share that. And I just encourage young builders to learn from people that have been doing it a while, present the most professional face that they can. And again, don't compete on price.
Okay, I have another really big one that took me forever to learn. Saying no is sometimes the best thing you can possibly do. Like telling a client that the job's not right for you, passing on a project, not just answering the phone with, I would love that job. That job's right for us. It took me a very long time to realize that not every client that came through the door was our client. And that has been freeing, first of all.
Yeah.
And amazing for us, and learning to trust my gut and go, hey, these people seem like they're garbage people. I don't think I want to spend the next year and a half of my life with them. Some of them still slip through the cracks and you don't learn it until you're totally engaged with them. But there are times where your gut says, don't work for these people. I got news for you. It's going to be better to not have any income because you're sitting at home waiting for the next job to come in or running around town trying to drum up the next job than it is to think that you're working for somebody that's going to end up suing you and cost you money in the long run.
Yeah.
Like not having a job and losing money on a job. I would rather sit at home and not make any money than throw money away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all had those jobs where you wish you'd never taken them. And again, those are learning experiences. Everybody's going to have one, whether you try to avoid it or not. But saying no is effectively, as you say, freeing, but it also allows us to understand more what our niche is. Every builder will find their own niche. Don't ever try to be everything to everyone. Don't be the guy that remodels bathrooms and builds $5 million new custom homes. Those are not it doesn't fit, right?
Yeah.
Everybody needs to find what they're best at, what their niche is, so to speak, and then develop the trade contractor base, the supplier base, the project management team, the back office finance team to manage that business model, right? And so if you get a client who calls and says, I need you to remodel my kitchen, but you've just finished $3 to $5 million homes, know your colleagues in your local community well enough to know, oh, I know what builder would be best for you. Let me get you in contact with them, right? That is a powerful way to build credibility in your community. When you're not competing with the people that are your colleagues in your local market, but you're sharing information and your client base based on who is the best fit for whom.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, to add to both of yours, to your comment, Jake, I would say, one thing I've learned is clients don't change their stripes. Like if there's bad signs on the meeting one, you're not going to improve them. Right. If the wife doesn't show up to the meeting, well, she was too busy for this. She had things going on, so I'll just handle it and get it to her. You're in trouble already.
Yeah.
Right. Like if they're both not invested in the project to build a $2 million home, then what am I doing here? Right. And your comment, Tim, one of the best remodelers in the Boston area, a friend of mine, and he just retired, turned the company over to his his team, but he had a great saying that said, I had a number of clients. I wish I paid them $500 to go away. I would have made more money.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, there's some that are such an emotional drain. And just the whole part of it is that, and I think it's building and architecture. It's just in the business. There's people like their mind is scattered. They can't answer the questions. And then they say, well, you're not doing this and that. And it's like, I gave you a list of 5 questions to answer. You didn't answer any of those 5. I can't do what I do unless I get those 5 answers. And so let's pay attention. And they're just scatterbrained.
Yeah.
But
it's hard to recognize clients that understand what we do and value it. It takes a nose for it. It takes experience. But ideally, we want to find clients that want to do things right. And they don't necessarily want to just throw money to get the best product. They want to make sure that whatever money they spend is well spent.
yes.
And that's our job, to explain to them why certain things cost what they do and why to get them what they need could be more expensive than they think it should be. That's hard. But ultimately, once we engage them and get them on our side of the table to figure out what their project should cost, then I think they begin to appreciate what we do and how we do it, and are willing to spend what it takes to get ultimately what they want.
Yeah, he was probably the best client I've had to date. And we finished the project a little over a year ago. And his mantra was, the best choice should always win. Mm-hmm. Like when we started the project, he goes, Steve, I believe the best choice should always win. He goes, and I'll be honest, I'm not going to like the best choice sometimes, but it should always win. He was an engineer by trade, and he's in the world where he really understands value and what it means to systems. And he held through the whole project and stayed very, very tight to that mantra. And his project it's beautiful.
Good.
I'll wrap us up here with, I had a conversation with a carpenter at IBS recently that was asking about getting into being the contractor. And one of the pieces of advice that I gave is like, when you own your own business, it feels very much like you and the business become one thing. And you really have to make sure that you mentally are remembering that the success of the business does not mean that like you have failed or you have succeeded, like that the business is a separate thing, and that you have to not let small failures or successes like ruin or make your life and your mental health. You have to understand that it is a business. It is not the only thing that is important. Don't let the fact that like you run a business and you own that business, like ruin your personal life, ruin your family's life, ruin the fact that you don't see your kids or things like that. You have to remember that this industry in particular is one that can completely take over things. People expect you to answer the phone all weekend and in the evenings. And there's so many crews that work on Saturdays and all those sorts of things that if you don't keep things separate and you don't allow that break, it very quickly will take over everything if you let it.
Right. I shared it with you, I think. I don't know if you guys do it, but one of the builders that we've worked with, I only did a couple of projects and they were a while back. We haven't done recently, but I was really impressed with him. When we started the project, he gave both me and the homeowner, and it was mostly for the homeowner, but me to just understand. It was like a 3-pager, and it was basically the rules of the project. He's like, we will be here at 7 a.m. We listen to music on the radio, but we listen to this type of music. Nothing offensive, nothing swearing, whatever. But we also, like some of the rules, we expect your cars to be out of the driveway by 7:15 a.m. We're going to have a dumpster where we'll go over where we're going to put it. But he had a whole list of rules. Do not call me. If you do call me during the day, you're going to leave a message. I return all my phone calls between 4:30 and 5:30 p.m. Right? Because you don't want me to walk off the scaffolding on your job to go answer somebody else's call. So he just had a whole bunch of rules, but I just think it was a really great way to start a project. It's like, listen, this is a business. These are my business rules. You need to live by them.
Yeah.
We try to set boundaries so that the project managers do have a personal life, and we get them a lot of freedom. But as a general rule, I tell clients, we start an hour before our trades do, and we work an hour past when our trades quit. And that way you can expect to reach us somewhere between 6:30 to 7 in the morning until 5:30 to 6 o'clock in the evening. Not always the same person, but somebody will be engaged concerning your project during those hours. Generally, we don't work on the weekend. And it's that simple. I think they respect those boundaries, and it has worked out pretty good for us.
Yeah. But you also have to be the builder that when they do call at 10 in the morning, you return their call in the afternoon.
Yeah, you have to be responsive.
You have to be responsive and do that. So
that's right.
It does work both ways.
We have the same sort of document. We call it construction expectations. It outlines what it's like. It says, if you email, you should expect an email response within 24 hours that says, hey, if I don't have this answer, here's the timeline on which you'll have an answer on that, those sorts of things. If you're on the job site and you wish to talk to somebody about something, please talk to the project manager. The plumber is not interested in having a conversation about this or that, those sorts of things. Same sort of thing. I think it's great to outline those guidelines, especially if people haven't been through this before, especially if they haven't been through it with your company before. Managing expectations is one of the best possible things that you can also do as a young builder. If they go into it knowing that they've written you a check and they have a set of plans and that's it, it's the Wild West for whatever their expectation is, then that's what they're expecting. Yeah. If you've done nothing to manage what their expectations are, other than here's what the house is going to look like and here's what it's going to cost, guess what? They're probably going to be disappointed in something, or they're going to be confused about something.
Yeah.
So you can't cover it all. It's really difficult to cover it all. We try. We have multiple phone calls before we even start signing pre-construction agreements. We have multiple conversations, but it still never gets all of it covered. So we try as best we can to have those. I think our construction expectations document's probably 17 pages. And I kind of apologize to people. I go, I realize this is a lot of homework. It's worth it. Please read it.
Yeah.
But managing expectations is one of our biggest jobs.
It is.
So, and it's the one that it's the one piece of what we do that carries beyond the project, right? Building your reputation and managing those expectations. It's what the homeowner takes with them. It's what the homeowner, when they throw their Christmas party, it's like, oh yeah, John Smith Builders did this kitchen. You should give them a call. They were really great to work with.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
When there's a little problem that arises, and there always is, if the client says to themselves, oh yeah, they told me this might happen, or they told me this was an issue, or
this potentially happens.
They told me how to deal with this. Yeah. That makes you the hero.
Or they told me to call if there was any problems.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
good. This is great, guys.
This is great. I do have a piece of advice for our crowd today. They say tequila doesn't improve your life. And I think it's worth a shot.
Tim, I don't know if you listen to the podcast, but you're not supposed to laugh at these. You're not supposed to encourage it.
These guys hate it, but everybody writes in and tells me how much they love my jokes. So.
I love Steve. And I feel compelled to laugh, whether it's funny or not.
It was a sympathy laugh, I think is what Tim's trying to say.
Hey, I'll take it anyway. I
thank Tim for being on the podcast and giving sympathy laughs. If you have questions or comments, or if you want to add to the advice, maybe if we get enough other tips, we would do another one. Questions at unbuilditpodcast.com.
Yeah. Why don't we simply ask? I mean, we've done tips for builders, tips for young architects, young builders. If you're a builder or an architect out there, or a homeowner that has worked with builders to say, hey, builders should do this, write in what those tips are. And we could do a podcast where we read off the 10 tips that we got from the audience.
Okay.
Anyways, there you have it, folks. Unbuild It Podcast special event with Tim Hill.
Have a nice day.